Welcome to episode 25 of today's Candor. I'm your host, Barika. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to tune in. In today's episode, I'm discussing being able to provide and reciprocate what you require in a relationship. And this goes for anything that you're bringing to the table, right? And just those given aspects of a relationship: love, trust, security, communication, all the things. And if you've already tuned into last week's episode 24, the topic was becoming complacent and comfortable in a relationship, and how, of course, that is just a complete setup for failure. So if you haven't already tuned into episode 24, please go ahead and do so. Of course, you can find that wherever you find your podcasts. And I spoke about being able to provide what you require a little bit. Touched on it for a split second in episode 24, but I really wanted to go more in depth about it in this episode. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So, of course, let's not confuse being able to provide what you require with having high standards, or just, or just having standards. Because sometimes I feel like I can hear people just misconstruing the two. Having standards is something you're supposed to do, because if you don't, you'll accept anything. And why do that? So having standards is seeking a person who is aligned with you, desiring a person who is aligned with who you are, your values, your morals, your interests, your energy, and not just saying, oh, I want this person for their money or their material possessions. So let's not get those confused, misconstrued, mixed up, because they are not the same concept. Of course, you should have high standards, but if you're going to have those standards, you have to also be able to say, hey, I'm able to provide those things. I'm able to reciprocate those things. And it's not going to be every single thing that you all are touching on, because, of course, no one is the same. But if you're saying, I want a loving relationship, I want someone who I know they genuinely care for me, and I know it's coming from their heart, then you can't turn around and be a hellion every day, because that's contradictory. So if you're saying you want someone who is loving and trustworthy, they communicate well, they're providing security, you just feel it's a safe space for you, then you have to be able to reciprocate those things. It should be safe for the other person in the relationship. You have to have a certain level of communication. So if you want that person to be able to communicate effectively with you, you have to be able to reciprocate that. You can't say, I want a good communicator, an effective communicator, and then you always shut down when it comes time for you all to have a conversation. Or even if there is a disagreement, it shouldn't be something that's a blowout. So simply being able to say, I want these things in a person, I look for these things in a person and in a relationship, and being able to provide those and reciprocate, at least on some level. And one of the main things I hear it so frequently from women, and it's not to say that I don't hear it from men, but more often than not, I hear women emphasizing how important it is for a man to make a certain amount of money in order for them to be together, or for them to even start dating, start getting to know one another. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, how crazy is this? And why? Why is that your go-to? Why is it a certain amount of money? Why and how can you sit in somebody's face and say, you have to make 6 figures in order for me to even get to know you? My first question would be, do you make that? Before we get into digging any deeper, like into a personal level and going, deeper than the surface, do you even make that for you to say that's what you desire from someone else? So that would be my first question. My second question is, why is that a deal breaker? Because what you should be thinking about is if the person is self-sufficient. Are they independent? Can they take care of themselves before you even step into their world? Because if a person is not able to take care of themselves, that's a total different conversation going on. Like, of course, I wouldn't date someone if I were single right now. I'm not dating someone or trying to get to know someone who I know for a fact they are not self-sufficient. They're not taking care of themselves. So it's not on just this level of, oh, you don't make a certain amount of money. It's also, hey, are you able to take care of yourself? Are you still running to your mom or whoever to pay your bills? Because that's not being self-sufficient. So I would have to see that. You could meet someone in this day and time who's making $50,000, $60,000 and saying, hey, I know it's not all the money in the world, but I'm able to take care of myself. Like if that person is, it's just them, like they may have no children, they have no dependents, maybe not even a parent who's depending on them, nothing. They literally just have to take care of themselves. And if they're saying that that income suffices for them and they are able to take care of themselves, well, hey, that's what matters. Because when you start to get to know someone, what I make is not for you anyway. That's not our money. For that to become our money, we have to get way deeper into the relationship. And it's sure not going to be on the first date. So it's not a what's yours, mine, and ours kind of game, kind of time until you say, hey, let's be serious with one another. Let's make this official. So when you go prancing around talking about a man has to make at least 6 figures and you over here might not even be making anything close, where it's talking about like the qualities you want in a man, how he carries himself, how he treats people. How does he treat his mother? How does he just treat women in general, being that you're trying to date him? So it's like this whole, oh, I need a man who makes this amount of money and this, no, to do what? To buy you something? Go buy yourself something. There's so much more. There's so much more to being with someone than what they can do, materially speaking, for you. And if you don't see it that way, what are we doing? Because I view a relationship as a partnership. And that means, of course, that may mean different things for different people. But overall, if you go ask anybody in their right mind who has a head on their shoulders and not just walking around here trying to take from people, a partnership, building together, establishing a life together, working with each other to provide a secure, safe, happy, loving environment for each other. Not one person doing it and the other person suffering or being unhappy, doing these things for each other and providing these things for each other. It's not going to be 110% every day, but we're talking about overall, are both parties in the relationship providing this for each other, creating this environment for each other? That's a partnership. It's not one person doing the work to satisfy the other person. It's not one person being the glue to keep that partnership tight and together. Mm-mm. And, it's crazy because I'm like, I could never at no age, not at 18, 20, 25, 30, my age now. Like I said, if I were single now, I would not be saying to a man, you have to make 6 figures in order for you to even talk to me. Like some of y'all don't even wash up properly and you got the nerve to be out here trying to preach to somebody about what their income should be. You have these nasty attitudes walking around. You prance around like you hot stuff and everything on you is artificial. I mean, that's not even, it doesn't add up for you to really be able to sit in somebody's face across from maybe like, you're at a dinner table. And you're like, well, you have to make at least 6 figures in order to be with me and do this and do that. And I'm just thinking to myself, how bold and audacious. It's one of the wildest things to me. I could never say anything like that out of my mouth. Because let's say he does make the money that you're looking for him to make. Do you care if he were to treat you like trash? Have a nasty attitude? Doing, any and everything that he wants to when he wants to? But it's okay if he buys you a silly little stupid Birkin bag, right? Yeah, no. Because if that's all your worth is, oh, a person can make a certain income, buy you something, give a halfway apology, and then do it all over again, it goes to show what you think about yourself. It goes to show what you think about yourself. That all you would want in somebody is what they're making. That's sad. You should want to be able to say, you know what? I'm able to take care of myself, because taking care of someone in a relationship and taking care of each other in a relationship, two different things. Only taking care of the other person is because they don't have their stuff together. And maybe you're trying to save someone, and that's never a good idea. Trying to save someone from themselves, it can become habitual, and it takes you down a path that may cause you to struggle, and it may cause a struggle that's just very difficult for you to get out of, almost like digging yourself out of a ditch. And that goes for men and women. Never try to save someone from themselves. And that's a different topic. I will definitely discuss that in a different episode. But that's for men and women. Never try to save someone from themselves. If they can't take care of themselves before you came into their world, it's a no ma'am, no sir. And we're not talking about somebody who just maybe lost everything because they got laid off and just something like life happened. We're talking about they just full of crap and not doing what they're supposed to. That will be a different episode. And the reason I want to discuss that episode or discuss that topic in a different episode is because I can definitely shed some light on it. I've been there, done that. And I suggest that no one ever does it because it'll throw you for a loop. It'll throw you for a loop. So back to where I was going as far as just being able to take care of yourself. You can hold it down on your own. You're not looking to be with somebody because of money or material possessions. At the end of the day, if you're not pouring into me emotionally, mentally, spiritually, what do we have? You could be making all the money in the world. You could just have money just pouring out the crack of your tail. But if you don't know how to read me and say, you know what? Barika's off. Her energy is off. Something's up. If you don't know how to pour into me spiritually, emotionally, mentally, just we make sure each other's mental well-being is good to go. We have nothing. The money doesn't matter. When you're stressed out or whatever emotions you're feeling and you're not feeling great, buying something. I know some people do retail therapy, but that's a hot second. That's in the store when you think it's cute and you're buying it. And then when you get home, all your emotions start to run high again. At the end of the day, if your person cannot pour into you, support you, love you, provide in those ways, the money doesn't matter. And that's why I'm saying you have to be able to provide what you require. If you can sit up and say, you know what, I know that I'm a loving person. I know that I'm nurturing. I know I'm helpful. I know that I practice healthy habits. Whatever you know about yourself and your attributes, know those things, and that's perfectly fine. But then if you are asking someone else, you can't say, well, I don't bring any of these things to the table, but I'm asking you to do so. I'm asking you to reciprocate, or I'm asking you to provide some love to a non-loving person. I'm asking you to communicate with a non-effective communicator. I'm asking you to be supportive, but I don't support you in anything that you're doing, whether it's a career move or going back to school or just whatever the case. Starting a business, it doesn't work. Stop asking people or requiring, not even asking, but stop trying to require people to bring certain things to a table, to a relationship when you're half-assing yourself. And I mean, it's unbelievable to me how beside themselves people can get when asking and requiring all of these things in a relationship. Like, they want to meet this 10 out of 10 person, but you're not even 2 out of 10. You got some work to do in all areas. You must be able to provide what you require. I cannot put enough emphasis on it. And reciprocation. Like, when I hear people talking, and sometimes this will be some of my friends, this will be acquaintances, this will be coworkers, when I just hear certain people talk about how they view relationships, how they view what you're supposed to bring to a relationship, I'm just looking at them like, you're not even one thing out of the things you just listed that you want somebody to be. And if you find that you are not able to provide these things, you need to stay to yourself. You need to do some work. You need to do some internal work before you think you should go somewhere else. Before you should go into someone's life and potentially ruin or disrupt their vibe, their energy, their world, because you don't have yourself together. And there are so many good people who I feel like get ruined by this because they self-sacrifice so much that it's almost like they turn into this person. And some people don't. Some people don't become bitter. Some people don't turn into a different person or just like someone you don't know. But I have seen where people, they literally have pushed their happiness to the back burner and self-sacrifice so much that they are just a different person. And it's sad. And never allow someone to do that to you. Never allow someone to turn you bitter. If someone is not bringing to the table what you need, I know it's easier said than done. You got to go. You have to get enough oomph and strength. It's going to hurt. You may be disappointed. You're going to cry, whatever. But you have to get enough strength to say, you know what? I know that the long-term consequences are going to play out in my favor. The short-term consequences, the pain and the hurt in the beginning and feeling just all those emotions when it happens. But it's no need. It's no need. If somebody is not providing what you need and you know that you are doing your job, there may need to be some reevaluating. And that's okay. And it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to get pissed off and then overnight say, you know what? I think now's the time for me to go. No, don't make a brash decision, but understand that usually what you are seeing in a person, that's who they are. And when they're showing you that in the beginning, that's who they are. 10 times out of 10, it's not going to change. Very rarely does it. And if it does, it's because that person has made up their mind to change it. Not because you've talked to them till they're blue in the face, not because you might be the most effective communicator in the world. At the end of the day, a person is not changing unless they want to. They have sat down and said, I need to fix XYZ. That's the only time a person's changing something. Don't let anybody fool you. Can somebody say, hey, when you gave me that talk the other day, it gave me, a little light bulb went off in my head? Yeah, absolutely. It might have gave them just something they needed to hear, but they still had to make the actual decision to do the changing. You didn't make them change. Never think that you can. What you see in the beginning in a person is what you're getting. What you see is what you get. Don't think that you have some special juice or superpower to change a person. So for my people who are trying to require something that you can't give, you need to take a step back. You need to take a seat. And you need to say, you know what, like, come down from your high horse or whatever where you think you might be. Come on back down to earth and say, you know what, I know that I can't provide this particular thing or things in a relationship. Let me see how I can either get there. Let me see how I can adjust. But if you are not able to require all these lovely things that you were looking for in a relationship, you got to take a step back. Stop going into people's lives hurting them because you think that somebody is supposed to do something specific for you. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything. And that's just that. For the people who are out here providing what they require and that's not being reciprocated, figure out what you need to do, because there is evaluations that need to go on both sides. The people who are requiring it and not providing it, and the people who are providing it, but they're not getting what they need. Don't stay in something where you don't belong. Once again, I know that it's easier said than done. Once again, don't expect someone to be loving and sweet on you if you're a complete hellion. That's just not how it works. It's not how it works. So I hope you all were able to gain something from this episode today. Like I said, I will do a separate episode on just going a little bit into like a personal experience, just never saving somebody from themselves. Like, people need to put in the work. They need to do the work to do better. That's just it. Never save anybody from themselves. You have you to work on. If you have a child, children, you have them to work on, and just whatever else is going on in your world. Do not save anybody from themselves. So that will be a future episode. I'm not sure if it will be the next one, but it definitely will be an upcoming episode. But for those of you who are providing what you say, hey, I'm requiring this in a relationship and I'm giving it, don't change. Keep being that sunshine. Keep being that light, because other people around you need it, whether it's family or friends or just whoever you know. But if you are providing certain things and giving certain things in a relationship and the other person is just not doing that, but you feel like they're requiring it of you, sit down and have a conversation, see what's going on, monitor the change, or if they're not changing, and see what your next move needs to be. It's tough. It is. But you have to keep in mind that you have to take care of your mental well-being, because when your mental well-being is off, it usually affects your health, your physical, and then you start to play the game. So don't change. Don't become bitter. If you're a sweet, loving, nurturing person, keep doing that. Keep being that person. But it might not need to be that person that you're with. It might need to be with someone else. But if you never try to figure it out, you'll be stuck in a place that only hurts you. Ladies out here asking for men to make all of this money and stop taking you to wherever y'all think is too cheap on a first date. Go buy your own meal then. Go be by yourself, because your attitude is nasty. Go take yourself to the fine dining that you think you deserve. That man has to figure out what you do and don't deserve. And if you're requiring, quote unquote, somebody take you somewhere for a first date, I already know that your attitude is rank. Nobody said that he had to take you, to go get a Happy Meal at McDonald's. But stop all of this. Oh, if it's not fine dining and my silverware is not laid out like it's supposed to be with the etiquette, if that's not the first date, I have a problem. If he doesn't make six figures, I have a problem. If this and that, ma'am, please. Most of y'all talking that, y'all out here, you're going to get in the house and he's not even going to know who you are anymore, because you didn't took off all of this artificial stuff and he's looking at a total different woman. So while you're trying to sit up here and require that somebody makes a certain amount of money, you need to bring something else to the table, like a better attitude. Go read something. That's all I have for you all today. Thank you as always for taking the time to tune in and listen. Please continue to follow, like, and share on all podcast platforms, and all of the reels and episodes are now on YouTube. So please subscribe on there as well. And in the meantime, you all stay safe and you stay candid.